Hello everyone, welcome to RPA Learnings, and in this video of UiPath tutorials, we are going to discuss about state machine. State machine is the major component of an RE framework, where RE framework is built using state machine, and this concept is pretty much required in order to go for the RE framework or the advanced topics. The state machine is a very important topic to learn, and stating that it is an important topic and it is also a confusing topic to learn. So I'm going to discuss about all the states which are present in a state machine and give you an example of how you can implement a state machine. And the major point that I'm going to give you in this video is the state machine is similar to do while. If you know how you apply the conditions in a do while, then you already know what is a state, how the state machine works. And I will show you with an example how state machine is similar to do while. And at the end of this video, you will able to write a state machine and execute an example in a state machine. So let us start the session and we will see how it goes. Before starting that, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider subscribing for more videos. And if you like this video, please give it a like. If you have any other doubts, do mention them in the comment section below. And first, what we are going to see is what is a state machine. First, we need to understand what is a state machine, and then what are the states and that are present in state machine, and then we will see the example of how we can actually implement a state machine in UiPath Studio. So, the state machine, it is a type of automation that uses a finite number of states in its execution. Here you can see in the execution, when it is executing, it will use a finite number of states on one state of the other. That is called a state machine, and it can go into a state when it is triggered by an activity, and it exists and state when another activity is triggered. When the state starts when an action is triggered, and state will end when another activity is triggered. So this is how state machine works, when it will enter into the state and it will exit from the state. That is what the second point is. And the third point, these are transitions, as they enable you to add conditions based on which they can jump from one state to another state. The conditions which you mention in the trigger section is actually a transitions, where you can mention some conditions. Based on that particular conditions, it will jump from one state to the other state, from state 1 to the state 2. Whether the state is true, then it will go into the final state. If the state is false, then it will move into the other state, or it will loop back to the same state. And these are represented by arrows or branches between states. If you have one state, two states, then there will be a branch to actually show this particular transition where you mention the conditions. So this is what a state machine is, the definition on the description of a state machine. And now we will see what are the states that are present in a state machine. So what are the states that are present in a state machine? Here we can see the first is a state, which is we call that as a state, and so second one is entry, and the third one is exit, fourth one is transitions, and here we can see it is a trigger and a trigger action condition here, where you enter the condition, and a trigger action, and the shade transitions, and finally it is a final state. And these are the states that a state machine contains, where now we will see a state by state definitions, and then we will discuss how it is similar to the do while. The first state here is what is a state, the basic unit that composes a state machine. In a state machine, the activity of a state is called as a state, and then the entry point, where an activity is executed when entering the state. Here you can see is the entry point. When you actually trigger this particular workflow, it first enters into the entry state, and an exit state is executed when exiting from that state. After the completion of the code that are present in the entry section, it will go into the exit, and it will complete that particular step, and it come out of that particular state. So what is a transition? A directed relationship between two states. As I already mentioned here, if there is two states, then it will be a transition in between where you mention the condition. Based on that, it will jump from one state to the other state, and that is called a transition here. That represents the complete response of a state machine to an occurrence of an event of a particular type, or the condition that is based on the condition. And what is a shared transition? A shared transition that shares a source state and a trigger with one or more transitions, but has a unique condition and actions. Where if we have three states, let us consider we have three states in the state machine. The first state, after completion of the first state, there will be a condition which is pretty same for the two states which has to be executed. So if anything got failed, what I need to write here is I need to let me write it down. Use a pen. So let us consider I have a state machine, and one state is this one, and this will be my final state, and this will be the next state. If I need to write two types of transitions, then I need to better use this. But after this to this, and I need to write a condition over here and a condition over here in order to execute these two states. But what the state transition does here is here we will write the same transition for the both conditions, and this particular condition will contain this condition and this condition, those two in the same trigger action, the trigger point here, or the transition point here. And if that will reduce the branching of the state machine here. If we have two branches, but in this condition we have only a single transition but two shared transitions in that particular shared transition. That is called as shared transition, that shares a source state and a trigger with one or more transitions. That is called, and it will be a unique condition. So this is a shared transition. And what is a trigger activity? A trigger is nothing but a triggering activity that causes a transition to occur. When you need to start or there will be a trigger activities which to open the Windows application or something like that, we can use those activities here in order to start the trigger. And later on, what is the condition here? The condition is a constraint that must evaluate either true or false after the trigger occurs in order for the transition to complete. It will, the second step is a condition step. If condition is true, then it will go to the final state. If the condition is false, then it will loop back to the main state or any other respective status. And what is a transition action? An activity that is executed when performing a certain transition. After completion of the condition, we will have a certain activities which need to be done before exiting from that, before going to the final state. We need to either summarize the process that we have done before to this particular state, and if you want to consolidate all those, then you need to do it in the condition, and it will go back to the final state. And the finally, what is initial state and the final state? So initial state is nothing but the first state after the start button in the state machine workflow, a state that represents the starting point of the state machine. And what is the final state? The final state that represents the completion of state machine. And a point to remember here, the final state doesn't contain any entry point, exit point. It only contains one entry point. It only contains entry point. It doesn't contain a exit point, because it is the final state. Then only the data should enter into the final state. So these are the states that probably you have to know before seeing the actual state machine example. So if you are clear about these, what are the states that are present in the state machine, now we will go to see this, how the difference, what is the comparison between a do while and the state machine. So here we covered all of these states, which is state, entry, exit, and it is called exit, and these are the transitions, and this is the condition here, which is the trigger point here, and this is a trigger action where you need to perform some actions before after the condition is true, and this is the destination. And here you can add shared transition if you want to add a shared transition here. And this is the final state, and these are the overall states that are present in the state machine. Now what we're going to see is how the state machine is similar to do while. If what if you know do while, you already know state machine, just you doesn't you are not aware of how it works. So let me explain you how do while and state machine works similarly. So here you can see this is the state of a state machine, and on the left side here we have a state of the state machine, on the right side we have a do while. So here you can see state, entry, exit, and a transition. But in do while we have a body and a condition. So let us assume the entry and exit combined into a body, so that this body is the whole of this body is equal to the entry and the exit of the state machine. So, and the condition here is called the transition here. So what happens here is, let me take an example like this. If there is an activity in the entry, so it will start from the entry and it will take the input from the user. So, and transition, what it will do is it will search, it will, if the input from the user is equal to what the expected value, then it will go to the final state. As like here, if the T1 is true, then it will go to final state, or else if it is false, then it will go to the init state or the main state which is present in that particular state machine. So what this example suits in the do while loop, how it will execute in the do while loop. Okay, here we have an input dialog box and we are taking the input from the user, and in this particular condition, if that particular entered user name is equal to the name which the expected username, then what it will do is it will loop back, because in do while condition, if the condition is true, it will loop back to the body. If it is false, it will come out of the loop and execute the final activities which are present after this particular do while. But in state machine, if it is true, then it will come out of the loop and it will execute the final state. The only difference between these two is the condition here. If it is true, then it will, in state machine, if it is true, it will execute the final state. In do while, if it is true, it will execute the body again. So this is the only change, the true and the false, between do while and the state machine. So let me explain you with an example of the do while and the state machine, so that it will be more clear, and you can jump into see an example in UiPath Studio. So here we go. Now we will see a practical example of how you can actually work with the state machine here. So here in the workflow section, you have a state machine here. So just dragging the state machine workflow here, click on expand, where you can see the start button, and drag a state and then the final state. Now this is pretty much it on the state machines, where you there will be no transition at the start of the state machine, because it is the initial step of the state machine where you don't need any condition to be executed. And after this particular state, there will be a transition which you need to enter certain condition. If it is true, then it will go back to the final state, or it will, we can just make it to the loop back to the main state or the init state. So before showing you this particular state machine example, let me show you an example with do while, so that we will implement the same condition which are present in the do while in the state machine, and we will replicate the same example in the state machine. So it will be very understandable and it will be more clear. So let me just drag a do while. What I will take is, I will take an input dialog box. Now I will ask enter username, and let me put it as your name, and let us give it a variable. It is, I will name it as a name. So the output name here. So here what's the condition it is going to check? If that particular name is equal to Aditya. So here you can see the error here, because it only accepts so the production level. So you need to change this particular scope here, the scope of the variable, to the main workflow. And let me save this, and let me drag message boxes here so that it will be more clear to see. And now I will display the name, and here let me make it as final state. And this is not required. So let me explain you here what we are doing here. So we are taking the input from the user, and if the input name is equal to our expected value, then what will this do while condition do is it will again loop back, and it will ask the user again for the input name and displays that. If it is false, then it will come out of that particular loop. So let us check that now. If I start the execution here, it is asking me for the username. So let me enter the correct name here, which is Aditya. If I click on OK, then you can see it is giving me this particular message box here, which is name. And now the condition is true. So as the condition is true, it is asking me it is asking me the dialog box. If I enter Aditya again, then it will again loop back and ask me to enter the username. So this time I will enter the wrong username, and it is a wrong username, which is false. So it come back to the final state, and this is actually happens in the state machine. So let us verify this particular example in the state machine so that it will be more clear. And just me drag this one inside. Now we are not required this one anymore. So let me save this. And now what we need to do here in this is, let us name this as a initial state. If I come in here, what is my entry point? What is the entry activity that I am going to use is we need to use the input dialog, because we need to get the data from the user. So I will make it as enter name and your name. So we will use the same variable which is present there, which is name. So the entry point is done, and then let me drag a message box here so that we will see the name. So this is the entry point which is done. If you require an exit activity that need to be executed, you can write that particular activity, or else it is not required, or it is not mandatory to write all the transitions, all the states in the state machine. You can simply leave them out and only write the entry point and the condition. It will perfectly work. So now it will show you an exit here. Now after entering, the user entered the name, so I need to set for the condition here whether that is the expected name or not, and the do while where you mention the condition. So here you need to go to transition T1, and in T1 if there is a trigger activity, so let me show you the trigger activities. You need to drop trigger activity here. There are some trigger activities in UiPath where it is to start a process trigger, or a file change trigger, or the click trigger. You can use any of these. For the time sake, I'm not using any of the trigger here, and I am checking for the condition, which is if the name is equal to Aditya, then what the action need to be done. Let me use a message box here. Name let me make it as name matched. So what if the name match it, if the name is matched, then it will directly go to the destination, which is final state. So let me drag and drop here. It is a final state if that is true. What if the value is not true? So we need to write another transition here. Let me make this transition name as name matched. So if the name is matched, then it will go to this final state. If name doesn't match, I need to get back to the particular user and ask him the further credentials again. As we in the do while, if it is true, then it will loop back and ask the user to enter the name again. If it is false, it will come out. But in this case, if it is true, it will go to the final state. If it is false, then we need if you drag your mouse here, you can see a box, a small pop-up box. Just drag and drop and back to this state. So let me drag this one here. And this will be our second state, where if it is not matched. Let me make the change of name. If the name is let me make this as name not matched. So if the name is not matched, then there will be another transition where you need to make the transition here. The condition is if that particular name doesn't match to Aditya, then show me a pop-up like name not matched. So if it is a wrong name, then it will show us a name not matched, and it will go to the initial state. Here you can see it is the initial state where the input dialog and the user entered input dialog is there. So this is pretty much the same as do while. Here you can see if we consider this all states as a do while, then it is the body of the condition where the user enters the name, and this is the do while condition where it checks the condition if it is correct or not. If it is correct, then it will loop back and it will again ask for user to enter the name. But in state machine, if it is true, it will come to final state, and if it is false, the condition is false, then it will loop back for the user to enter the name again. So this is the slight difference between do while and state machine. Other than that, it is pretty much same. So this is the similarity of do while and state machine. So let me execute this state machine and see how it is behaving. So here we go, it is asked for the name. So let me enter the wrong name here, which is Sai, and the name is Sai, and now it is executing. It enters the scope and then it is executing this particular exit. It checked the condition and it is executing the initial state exit section, and now it shows the name is not matched. Now it will again ask me for the username here. Now I will enter Aditya, and it is Aditya, and it is exit. It is exiting the initial state now, and it is showing me the transition state, and then it will go to the final state here. And see, every time whenever the initial state is executed and it will come to the initial state entry section, then it will go to this particular transition first, and then it will check for the condition. If the condition is true or false, then again it will go back to the initial state and completes this particular state, and then go to the condition action which is present in the action, and then it will finally go to the final state. And this is the flow of states in the state machine. And here we can also see a shared transition here. So let me drag this and drop here. So let me remove this particular chain. So what we can do here is or else if you are not if you are not adding any activities here, you can just directly add whatever the condition that you want here, the condition which need to be checked here, and the display name of the particular state. If this condition matches, then it will go to the next state. If that condition is not matched, it will go to the initial state again. And let me just now the second state is cleared. Now let me add the shared transition here in this particular name match. Click on here, add a shared transition, and it is to initial state. So what it is connecting, it will connecting to the initial state because the name is not matched. So you need to select that particular state, and it is going to initial state, and you need to enter the condition here, which is a name is not matching to Aditya, and let me drop this box here, name not matched. So let me come out of this initial state, and you can see there is only one state. Here you can see it is actually pointing. Let me drag this a bit so that we can see that it states clearly. Okay, here you can see it is came from the same node here. This is called, if you hover over there, you can see drag a transition line from connection point to create a shared transition. Now it is a shared transition, and here this you can see the condition that what we have entered there. And if I make this as name not matched, so if you click on this name not matched, you can see both two triggers in the same state. In the earlier, what we have seen is a single state of every state. So this shared transition, and how the shared transition is gonna take place is, first it will look for the top one, which is the name matched. If it is not corrected, then it will look for the name not matched condition. If there is another condition in between of this, then it will search for the that condition, and in the third one it will check for the name not matched. It will go from top to bottom in the name trigger section before checking the conditions. And this is pretty much it about the state machine. And let me just have a recap of what we have seen till now, so that it will be more clear understanding. So first, what we have seen here is what is a state machine, and this is we gone through the state, what is the concept of state machine, and what are the states that are present in the state machine, which is state, entry, exit, transition, shared transition, trigger, condition, transition action, initial state, and the final state. And these are the states that we have seen. And how the state machine is similar to the do while, and I think now you are able to recognize the differences between a state machine and a do while condition. And if you are able to recognize this difference between a state machine and a do while, then you are actually more capable of doing these states in further, and it will impact you while doing the RE framework, and it is a major basic component that is required in advanced robotic enterprise framework. And I think you all got the clear explanation about the state machine. If you have any other doubts, please do mention them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please give it a like. And if you have any other thoughts, please do, or suggestions on the topics that you want us to cover, please do mention them in the comment section below. And let me know what are your thoughts on this particular video, so that it will be helpful for me to make changes on my further videos. And that is it for the state machine concept in this video. If you like this video, please like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, don't forget to subscribe, and like, share and comment on this particular video to let me know about your thoughts. And thanks for watching.